What up, everybody? Sherry's Joy. I am here at Goucher College for a lecture and book event for Colson Whitehead. This is very exciting. The tickets were actually free, but I waited in a virtual line day one, the moment these went on quote unquote sale. So it is a very sold out event. We do have assigned seats. It's very nice in here. They are doing book sales for Mr. Whitehead, and I did purchase John Henry Days and Crook Manifesto. And I brought Nickel Boys for Mr. Whitehead to sign for me because he is doing signings for 1 hour, limit to one book, no selfies, and they're going to keep the line going and try to accommodate everybody within that hour. So it's very exciting. Can't wait to hear about the lecture. It's very nice in here. It's Sunday. It's raining outside, so what a perfect day for a book event. I mean, this is exciting. So I can't wait to tell you all about it. Stay tuned.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bookmarked. I'm your hostess, Sherry's Joy. I am one half of the DigiKast. And again, I am very excited to be here, and I am more excited for you to be here with me. So thank you so much for joining me and subscribing and liking to my show. Today, I am going to talk about an event that I went to over the weekend. It was afternoon with Colson Whitehead, a lecture at Goucher College, and it was very interesting and very organized. The event was hosted by the Baltimore County Public Library, and they did a wonderful job organizing everything. And actually, there were, Goucher College volunteers maybe or staff there as well, and it was just a very beautiful event. It was a very sold out event. It was hard. It was, from what I understand, it was hard to get the tickets. I actually got them early, day one of the quote unquote sale. They were free tickets, and I waited in a virtual line for about a half an hour, and I was able to grab the tickets, so it was good. The auditorium that it was in was beautiful. It was in their auditorium, and it was beautiful. The lobby area had artwork and everything in there, and they had a setup for books that you could purchase from Mr. Whitehead by Ivy Bookshop, local to Towson, and they just had Colson Whitehead books, a few selections, hardcover and paperback, and 30% of those proceeds went to Baltimore County Public Library. And we met some really great people. Shout out to, everybody that we met. We met Ms Gallagher from Baltimore County Public Library, and several other people, including Mr. Whitehead himself. So I was actually able to stand in line and get his signature. He personalized a couple of books for me, and that was wonderful. And he was a great personality. I actually discovered him through my daughter, JJ. She discovered him through school. She read one of his novels, and she, was telling me about it, and then was telling me that a movie, The Nickel Boys, was coming out, and she was very excited to go see that for her birthday. And unfortunately, she couldn't go to the event with me, but she did want to go and wasn't able to. So she was there with me in my heart and in my phone. So he was very personal. He discussed his, how he got into writing and the college that he went to, and the articles and things that he wrote for, the news articles, newspaper he wrote for, articles and things like that in magazines. And he actually told us how he came up with ideas for his novels. A lot of them are inspired by dreams or just thoughts. And he, would have this idea, and then he would research it and really dig into the research, and then, boom, here we have a novel. So it was really cool to hear what inspires him and how he was able to write these wonderful novels that he's written, 12 thus far. And as I said, they had, books out there for purchase, and I purchased Crook Manifesto, and I purchased John Henry Days, and I brought a book with me, The Nickel Boys, for him to sign as well. So that was very, very good. It was a beautiful day for a book event, complete with rain and cold. So I encourage you, if you ever get the chance to go to a lecture by an author, or even more specifically, Mr. Colson Whitehead, please, I encourage you to do that, because it was very, very inspiring and very interesting and just everything. So yeah, it was a good day. So now I'm going to get into my book review, and that is, of course, The Nickel Boys by none other than Colson Whitehead. So this is a book that was recommended to me by my teenage daughter, and she read the book-ish and saw the movie. I did not see the movie. I probably won't see the movie. Maybe I'll check it out. I don't know, but I'm more of a book reader. And so I read this book, purchased it a while ago, and I was waiting to discuss it. And, I purchased it and read it and was waiting to discuss it for this particular event, so that we could talk about it together. Now, I had never heard of this story. This is a historical fiction. I don't know why I can't speak tonight. This is a historical fiction that takes place in the 1960s, and it is based off of the Dozier Reformatory School in Marianna, Florida. This reformatory was for juveniles, and it ran from 1900 to 2011. And between the years 1900 and 1960, the website says, I did some research on my own. There were brutal beatings and, I guess murders, you could say, assaults, you want to think of assaults, any type of assault, even the ones that start with an S. And it was worse. It was not just for African Americans or Black people. It was also white people went as well. It was for boys. And so, of course, I don't want to say of course, but unfortunately, it was worse for the Black juveniles that were there than it was for the white juveniles. However, it was really bad for both. So the story, the main character is Elwood, and he is unfortunately, not unfortunately, but he is possibly college bound. He's very smart, and his family believes in him, his boss believes in him, and they know that he's going to go to college one day. You can do it, and you're going to do it, and everything. And so he's like, yes, I can do it. And he happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. He, hitches a ride down the freeway in Florida. The book takes place in Tallahassee, and he hitches a ride, and he's in the car. It was a Plymouth, and they're pulled over by the police, and white officer, 2 Black people in the car, and car was stolen. So unfortunately, Elwood has to go to this juvenile reformatory, and it says that the time period or your time there is 2 years. So within these 2 years, he does become friends with another student there, or another juvenile there named Turner, who shows him the ropes and goes over everything, the ins and outs of the place and everything like that. And he kind of lean on each other for friendship. And they come across, they come across other kids that are there. And this one particular story that stood out with me is a character named Griff. He's a boxer, and he was supposed to overthrow a match, and he didn't, and his fate is horrible. And we don't even, Ms. Whitehead Colson doesn't even go into what happened to Griff. It's just the way that it's like, yeah, you know, he overthrew the fight and they took him away and they didn't find his body for 50 years until 50 years later. Like that right there was very chilling. So you can only imagine, like it's left to your imagination of what happened. So that was that. And then I will say that the thing I didn't like about the book was that you're in the book, but because there's so many flash forwards to like the now, or you know what is supposed to be the now, which is still I think maybe the 80s or even 90s, you're taken away from being inside of that book. So for example, we're in a chapter and we're like going over what happened with Griff, and you're seeing it and you're envisioning it, and you can see the whole scene, the boxing, everything going around, blood splattering everywhere, and then you're ripped out of that moment because you're talking about like, you know, Elwood and his mother Harriet, and it's like, what? How did we get here? And then I'm like flipping back pages and I'm like, what happened? Did I just miss something? Did I skip a page? So there were a few times where I got a little confused because we flashed forward and it was like, what did I miss? So unfortunately, I'm not calling it criticism, but that's what I didn't like about the book. What I liked about the book, obviously, is that it's historical fiction and I learned something. You know, I keep saying like you read and you just learn so many things and through books and adventures, and I love it. So I learned something. I learned about this Dozier Academy through reading this book. I had never heard of it before, and I was just awed by it. And the ending, again, you know, Colson Whitehead he has a brilliant mind. And you read the books and I'm just like, okay. And then the end, you're like, oh my goodness, no way. It all comes together and you're just wowed. And it's just that mind-blowing moment where it's like a twist and it's like, whoa. So when I say I don't even want to watch the movie, I don't. I did do a review, check it out, on Underground Railroad, and it's the same thing. Like, I don't even want to watch the series. So I really did. I enjoyed the book. My review on it, just because I was taken out of it so much and kept thinking I was missing things, my actual rating on it is a 3.5. I know, but I feel like there could have been more information. And then especially like going back after reading it and researching the actual Dozier Academy, I learned that Elwood, you know, it seems like he might have been based off of the actual person, and I have my notes here, the actual person, Johnny, who was white. You know, he was a white resident, attendee of this school, and he got there because he hitched a ride, and the person he hitched a ride with was a military person who went AWOL, who was in a stolen car. And so unfortunately, you know, he got sent there. And then also in the book, they talk about Elwood and his beatings and how they, you know, he was not bolted down, but he had chains or whatever, and he was like on there, and he had lashings. He got beat like so bad that he passed out, and they told him, you know, that you know, he passed out, so he didn't even know how many, you know, lashings he got. And the real person who I read about, he had those beatings and he passed out and didn't know, but somebody else in the room or in the next room they could hear counted 135 lashings. So there were similarities like that, which is fine, but I just feel like it could have been like more, a little bit different, a little more room to, a little more information about the Nickel Academy versus Dozier Reformatory itself. And Yeah, so I encourage you to, one, read the book. Two, I can't encourage you to watch the movie. I haven't seen it, but one, read the book, and then two, check out the information on the Dozier Academy. I mean, it is crazy. There are investigations going on. And, there's like a potter's field that has 30 crosses for unmarked graves of victims, juvenile victims of that place from those years, 1900 to 1960. And there's one story that stood out where this family is trying to have their relative exhumed to try to find out, if so basically he was sent there when he was 13 years old in the 1930s, and in order for them to find out what happened to him, they need to have his body exhumed. The problem is that these bodies are unmarked and they don't know who's who. So there's a lot of investigation still going on. It's quite a sad, interesting read. So with that being said, I thank you so much for checking out this review and sticking with me. I appreciate it very much. If you have any comments or any concerns or any suggestions, please let me know. I am up to reading anything. So you can find me on Instagram, Bookmarked SJ. I am on Blue Sky as Sherry's Joy. And you can find the DigiKast here on YouTube at this channel. And you can find us on Spotify and Facebook and Instagram at the DigiKast. We have a webpage, thedigikast.substack.com. And we also have a link to all of the wonderful things that I read and all the wonderful things that we do. We do Vacation on a Budget and gaming and all these other fun things. So we do have an Amazon affiliate link. Check that out as well. And again, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to contact me. And if you have any suggestions on books that you would like me to read or that you would like to hear me, review, or if you think that I would enjoy them, please send them my way. Thank you so much. Again, I'm Sherry's Joy. Love the world.
Say all that again.
I said that's a writer. Do your research, read all sorts of genres. Don't be afraid to put your stuff out there. That is a writer. That's a writer. You can actually do a lecture and talk and not have to do a Q&A in order to rely on what you want to say. That's a writer.
Who was that writer?
Colson Whitehead.
Okay.